Sometimes the most tragic stories are not born in dark alleys, but inside ordinary homes. Homes filled with children's laughter, friendly neighbors, and a sense of everyday normalcy. Until something dangerous begins to grow behind closed doors. In the early 2000s, Texas was shaken by a case that stunned the entire country. It was the story of a man named John David Battaglia, an outwardly calm, educated accountant who enjoyed nice suits, order, and the attention of those around him. But behind this polished facade lived another man, one driven by anger, control, and a deep desire to dominate, step by step moving toward a moment that would change several lives forever. Today, this is the documentary story of how personal revenge, hidden behind a pleasant smile, led to one of the most shocking family tragedies in modern American history. John David Battaglia Jr. was born on August 2nd, 1955. He grew up in a military family, constantly moving, learning discipline, structure, ambition. He mastered accounting early, built a stable career, and created what looked like a beautiful life. Those who knew him casually said he was charming, intelligent, easy to like. But those closer to him knew a different John, one who was quick-tempered, irritable, and intolerant of disagreement. John's first wife, Michelle Getty, was the first to experience the darker side of his personality. Their relationship had early signs of trouble: aggression, pressure, sudden bursts of anger. She didn't leave immediately, hoping he would change. But things only escalated. When a marriage finally ended, many believed John would learn from the past and start over. But he didn't. Sometime later, John met Mary Jean Pearl. They looked like a picture-perfect couple. Smiling photos, shared plans, a promising future. Soon, they welcomed 2 daughters, little Liberty and the older sister, Faith. From the outside, they seemed like an ideal family. But behind closed doors, the atmosphere was different. Friends noticed that Mary became tense, cautious, almost always on alert. She laughed less, spoke less, worried more. In 1999, another explosion of John's anger led to an incident that ended the marriage. Mary left and filed for divorce. The court gave John a suspended sentence and ordered him to stay away from her. He repeatedly violated that order, calling, pressuring, insisting he would take back control. Mary wanted to protect her daughters, yet she didn't want to cut them off from their father. She allowed occasional visits. And on the surface, everything looked fine. A caring dad taking his girls to dinner, buying them gifts, joking with them. But later psychologists would say, for him, access to the children became a tool, a way to pressure their mother. For Battaglia, the concepts of family and control slowly merged into one. It was a normal spring day. Mary left briefly to run errands. John was supposed to take the girls for dinner. He picked them up, as usual. But that day, he was unusually tense. He had learned that he might face new legal consequences for violating the restraining order. For a man like him, this was a blow to his pride. Experts would later say he believed he was losing control and tried to reclaim it in the most destructive way. Mary later said that when she saw John's number calling, a wave of dread washed over her. She put the phone on speaker. What happened next became one of the most painful moments of her life. This part is well documented in court records, but YouTube prohibits graphic details. Therefore, we leave only the essential fact. The call became crucial evidence in the case, and it was the moment Mary realized her world had changed forever. Police launched an immediate search. John was not found at home, or in his car, or in a bar. They found him sitting calmly in a tattoo parlor. While the entire city was searching for him, he was getting a tattoo, 2 red roses bearing the names of his daughters. This shocked the public. Was it remorse, denial, or a cold gesture? When officers arrested him, he remained calm. Too calm. Later, investigators would discover a storage of weapons in his home, something Mary had never known existed. The trial stretched on. Prosecutors argued that the crime was intentional, motivated by revenge against his ex-wife. Defense attorneys tried to portray him as unstable, claimed emotional issues, psychological pressure, past trauma, anything that could reduce the severity of the sentence. But the court made its decision. John Battaglia was found guilty and sentenced to death. Battaglia spent nearly 17 years on death row. He read extensively, studied legal documents, searched for ways to overturn the ruling. He never admitted guilt. Some psychologists said he didn't fully grasp reality. Others believed he simply refused to. Several appeals were filed. All were denied. On the day of his execution, officials asked John whether he wanted to make a final statement. At first he said no, but then he turned toward Mary Jean, who was present in the viewing room, and said, "Well, hello, Mary Jean. We'll see each other on the other side. Bye." Those were his final words. The ending to a story that had dominated headlines for nearly 2 decades. After the Battaglia case, Texas strengthened protective measures in domestic violence situations. New protocols for enforcing restraining orders were introduced. Experts cited this case as one of the clearest examples of what can happen when early warning signs are ignored. This story became a lesson that continues to be discussed nationwide. Every major case leaves a lesson behind. Evil rarely appears suddenly. More often, it grows slowly, quietly, behind a mask of normalcy. The real challenge is recognizing the signs early, believing those who ask for help, and not underestimating threats just because they come from someone familiar or once loved. The story of John Battaglia is not only a crime chronicle. It is a reminder that protecting a family begins long before a tragedy occurs.